Whoa! Welcome back, guys! It's... I'll stop.
We're using that in the intro.
Please don't. G'day guys, and welcome back to Millionaire by 50, and congratulations, we are past step 1. So far, if you've been following along with my videos, you should have set up a competitive bank account, you should have set up a competitive superannuation account, and then lastly, we also kind of looked into insurance. So we've plugged up any little holes in our boat that could sink us on this journey to becoming a millionaire by 50. So we are well on our way to starting. Anyway, today's video we are going to jump into step 2, and step 2 is revisiting some of the accounts that we set up back in step 1, primarily the bank accounts. Before we bounce over to our Barefoot D At Night, we're going to talk a little bit about Scott Pape's free bucket theory. Now this theory is immensely powerful due to its simplicity, and what it basically entails is 100% of your take-home pay is going to be divided amongst 3 different buckets, and these different buckets are called the blow bucket, the mojo bucket, and the grow bucket. So we're going to go into each of those buckets individually to give you a bit more of an idea of what they are, and then we're going to bounce over to our Barefoot D At Night and have Scott Pape tell us exactly how we use this information to our advantage. But let's start off by clarifying a few things. Back in step 1, we would have set up 4 accounts with the same banking institution and 1 account with a completely separate banking institution. Now these 4 accounts, we had 2 everyday transaction accounts and 2 everyday savings accounts. So the 2 everyday transactions accounts, one was called daily expenses, which is self-explanatory, and we had 1 account called splurge, 1 account called smile, well this is a savings account, and then a second savings account called fire extinguisher. So we're going to deep dive into each one of those accounts right now. When it comes to the daily expenses account, the purpose of this account is basically to any sort of expenses that you have, may it be rent or mortgage or online subscriptions, whatever. Those expenses are going to come out of this account. Same thing as your food, same thing as your petrol, all of your, things that you need to run your life, right? The second account we have is called the splurge account. This is your second everyday transaction account, and this is great. So the splurge account is designed specifically to give you guilt-free spending money, okay? So the purpose of this account is every week, you take whatever money is allocated to that account and you buy something that makes you happy. Could be a makeup set, a new dress, video games, a couple of DVDs, whatever. Anything that makes you happy, you're gonna use the splurge money to purchase it. The third account we have is the smile account. Now the smile account is your first online savings account, and really this is just a long form version of your splurge account. So this works in the same way as the splurge account, but for long-term things or for items that would make you happy but that cost quite a lot of money. So let's say plane tickets for a bit of a holiday. That would be what your smile account's used for. A new computer maybe, or a new laptop or a new iPhone or a new iPod. That's what you're using your smile account for. So the purpose of the smile account is every time you think about what you're saving up for, it should bring a smile to your dial. The last account is called the fire extinguisher account, and this is possibly the most important out of them all. This is a savings account as well. However, in Scott Pape's words, we're using this account to set out financial fires. Now, what is a financial fire? You might think just off the top of your head that this could be things like emergencies, like your car breaking down or something like that happening, but it's not. That's what your mojo is for. Financial fires in Scott Pape's context basically talks about the different life stages that you really need to get over in order to be financially secure. So some of these events can happen at once, but I find a lot of the time they work on a timeline. So the first thing that you're going to be pointing your fire extinguisher account towards is the financial fire of debt. If you have any debts at all, credit cards, loans, anything like that, you're using the money from the fire extinguisher account to pay those off. The next thing you're using your fire extinguisher account for is, let's say, buying a house. After you buy a house, it's paying off the mortgage. After you pay off the mortgage, it could be saving money to set up a business, or it could be, you just forget about the fire extinguisher account altogether because you don't need it, and you focus those funds instead in your superannuation, whatever, right? But you get the gist of what the fire extinguisher account is for. It's for setting out those financial fires. So the next and final account we're going to talk about is the mojo account. Contrary to popular belief, again, this isn't none of our take-home pay goes into our Mojo account. Instead, our Mojo account is there for psychological reasons. Firstly, if you have $2,000 sitting away in a bank that you can't touch, then you know if your car ever does break down, if an emergency ever does happen, you're going to have some money there to cover it, if not, money to cover all of it, right? But the Mojo is there for a different reason as well. It's there to kind of strike up the creative juices in terms of acquiring a second income. See, we're not allowed to put any of our main income into the Mojo account. It all has to be separate streams of income. So this is where the stuff that we talked about before with Robert Kiyosaki and things like stocks and bonds and all of that stuff is going to come in handy. But before we jump into all that, other ways that you can fund your Mojo account is by, say for example, working overtime. It could be by having a garage sale. It could be by selling a kidney, or it could be by, creating a meth empire, where you end up losing your family, you end up getting your brother-in-law shot out in the desert and you lose everything, and that sucks, but you still get money from that, right? And if you get money from that, you put it into your Mojo account. The last bucket that we look at in Scott Pape's bucket theory is the grow bucket. And there's not a lot to say about this at the moment, guys. That's basically just your superannuation. So your employer automatically puts some money of your annual wage aside into that superannuation account. So we really don't have to worry about that. That's kind of already sorted. As we get other things in our lives sorted out, as I say, primarily when you buy a house and pay off a mortgage, then you can start redistributing funds towards your superannuation, and the more that you do that, the earlier you're probably going to retire. So that's an explanation of the accounts, guys. That's every single account, what their purpose is, all that. Now we're going to bounce over to our Barefoot D At Night, and Papey Boy is going to tell us exactly how to use these accounts to our advantage. Let's pop on over and I'll see you there. Alright guys, welcome to our Barefoot D At Night. So we've had a bit of a talk about the different buckets, and now we're going to have a bit of a look into how we can use those buckets to our advantage with regards to allocating our funds. Waiter, please.
Oh.
Lovely. Scrumptious. I'll have the chicken nuggies. Excellent. Now while we wait for those, let's have a little bit of a talk about what Scott Pape prescribes. So with regards to our first bucket, our blow bucket, we're basically talking about those 4 accounts that we set up. So we're talking about the daily expenses account, we're talking about the splurge account, the smile account, and the fire extinguisher account. Now, here is how it works out. So 100% of your take-home pay, Scott recommends to put into your daily expenses account. Now from your daily expenses account, we're going to transfer 10% of our pay to the splurge account, 10% of our pay to the smile account, and 20% of our pay to the fire extinguisher account. These percentages, they are like base percentages, right? They don't necessarily have to apply to everybody. Me, for example, I can live off probably less than 60% of my total income. So when it comes to that percentage, I might tweak it a bit and take it down to like 40%, for example. That gives me 20% to play with on some of the other accounts, which means that I might put, say, an extra 20% on my fire extinguisher account. You and your personal situation might be different, so it just really takes a little bit of tinkering to suit your own financial situation. The one big rule that Scott Pape has here is to basically not go over it with the daily expenses account. So if you are finding it very, very hard to live off 60% of your wage to cover off your bills and your rent and your mortgage and all that stuff, Scott Pape recommends firstly having a look at what fat you can trim to try and get your expenses under that 60%. If there's absolutely no way that you can do that, if everything that you're paying for now is absolutely essential, it does cost more than 60% of your income, will then and only then would he recommend, potentially increasing that. But try not to as much as you can. And again, these percentages are not fixed, but they are very, very handy in automating your payments and automating your savings. Now, when it comes to the Mojo account, again, we're not putting any of our cash in there. This is specifically for our second income stream, where the work of Robert Kiyosaki is hopefully going to come in pretty handy. But before looking into all that, if you wanted to get started with your Mojo account now, you could have a bit of a look into, as I say, hosting a garage sale, selling things off on Gumtree, you know, feed pics, you know, all these different avenues where you can get just a little bit of extra dosh. That extra dosh is going to go into your Mojo account. And then lastly, with the group bucket, we have just your superannuation, which is 9.5% of your wage here in Australia paid into your superannuation account. So that one's really already covered for you. We're not going to change that percentage at the moment. We might look into it a bit further in the book. But for now, we're leaving that. The main takeaway is going to be the percentages for our blue bucket. That concludes this fabulous feast, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for dinner. I hope you enjoyed yours. I'm going to wrap things up by sending us back to the studio. I'll see you all there. All right, guys, well, that's all for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're able to take something from it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on the socials. We've got some stuff going on there. Lastly, we do also have a document that we've written down below that you can download. So definitely check that out as well, for anything that you might feel is missing from this video or for more information. Thanks so much, guys. I'll catch you all next week.